Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris Michaels. I'm the Director of Communications here at SimSpace, and I'll be your moderator and question master for today's special SimSpace Demo Tuesday. And of course, happy International Women's Day to everyone that's joining us today. I say that today's special because we don't have our normal demo. That's because on March 19th, teams from the International Cybersecurity Challenge community, representing 64 countries, are going to face off in a castle versus castle style global competition to demonstrate their attack and defense skills on the SimSpace Cyber Range platform. In addition, we are today going to get a sneak peek of the 24-hour virtual Wicked 6 Cyber Games event that's going to be taking place on March 23rd through 24th, celebrating women in cyber, also being sponsored by SimSpace. But in today's demo, we're going to learn about these planned cyber scrimmages, get a look at the full Cyber Range platform where everyone will be competing, and chat about the mission driving these events. Joining us today is SimSpace's lead instructor, Pete Hay, special guest Jess Gulick, CEO of PlayCyber and Commissioner of the U.S. Cyber Games, and Neal Bridges, a.k.a. Mr. Awesome or ITJunkie, depending on where you're looking, who is the new Chief Information Security Officer at Query.ai. Pete, Jess, Neal, welcome, and we're glad to have you.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy International Women's Day.
Well, happy International Women's Day to you, especially. Well, I know we've got a lot to cover today in such a little time, but I do want to pass things over. Before we hand it over, if anybody has any questions about our panelists today, the events that are going to happen, and anything related to the Cyber Range, please put it in the chat. We will be, as I said, I'm the question master. I'll be answering the comments as we go along, and we'll be happy to address them both as we go and at the end. With that, I'll hand things over.
Awesome. Well, I can't tell you how pleased I am to have everyone here. Chris, Neal, Jess, it's a real pleasure. So I thought we'd start out. Neal, did you want to talk briefly through some of the slides that we've got about what those games are going to look like today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm super excited. I want to thank you as well as Jess for inviting the cybersecurity community to be your streaming provider for these games. I couldn't be more thrilled to offer up our platform to be able to really bring together the ability to do cyber games in this fashion in a truly esports type of model, and even more so to do it on a global scale, where we're going to be bringing, I think, Jess, we've got 9 teams internationally that we're going to be bringing together to do this.
I think we're going to have 10 ultimately.
10 ultimately?
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this is going to be a huge, huge opportunity for us to almost have this Olympic style of castle versus castle type of event going on. And I couldn't be more proud and more excited for it. So we will be live streaming this event on March 19th. You can see the times there on the slide. We will be starting. You can go on to the next slide if you want. The event's going to be huge in terms of like what the players are going to need to know. The competition is only limited to the ICC teams there, and all teams must be registered by March 10th, which is 2 days from now. We will be giving Discord access to the registered users, and then we will be having a practice that will be held on there as well. Super excited to be watching the practice. Obviously, me and my moderator team are going to be paying attention to the practice as well, so that we can bring you some of the inside scoops. What you can expect to see from a live streaming event on the March 19th is very, very similar to what you would see on a Super Bowl event or a football event or a hockey event or something like that, where we're going to have a team that's going to be watching these teams practice, watching them do their training, understand the castle environments that they're going to be both attacking against and defending against as well. So my team of experts who are going to be streaming with this, shoutcasting with me, are going to be there to be able to provide you with an understanding of the insights of the challenges that these teams are going to be facing as they're both doing attacking and defending. We'll be able to bring you expert opinions from lead security experts like Philip Wiley, Josh Mason, myself, and many, many others who are going to be there to kind of talk you through what the teams are thinking, what the teams are going through, and what the strategies are that they're going to be, thinking as they both attack and defend these castles. We'll be starting the stream about 1 hour before game start, and that's really so that we can recap. You'll get a small recap from my team and I about what happened during practice. We'll be talking about the logistics for the day, typical pregame warm-up type of stuff, and we'll have some interviews as well. We will also be doing a post-game recap talking about how the teams did, what teams we thought that, did performed well, underperformed, where we thought teams could learn better. Very, very similar to what you would come to expect from any other type of sporting event. We'll also be having a ton of guests throughout the stream. We've got some amazing guests lined up. I won't give away any secrets just yet in terms of the awesome lineup of guests that we have. But we're going to be talking about, not just the events of the world, but also what's happening as it relates to the cyber games and the challenges that the players are going to be facing. And so I'm super excited for this. I can't wait to see you all there, as well as the numerous people from around the globe that are going to be there to watch and cheer their teams on in a truly global fashion. So Pete, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks so much. Yes. So as Neal mentioned, this is going to be a castle v castle competition, and just a couple of words on what that means. It means that each team is going to be able to attack other teams' castles at the same time that they're defending theirs. We've added a couple of wrinkles in using some of the functionality in the platform, and that wrinkle is twofold. One, that we will actually be automatically performing analysis of the behavior of the participants. And that means that points will be generated based on what they do. So a lot of times the blue team can only impede red team's scoring. Well, in this game, there's actually going to be an opportunity for a blue team to eliminate a vulnerability, and they'll gain points if they employ mitigations for the vulnerabilities that are present in their network. So one of the purposes for that being is this is a much more realistic scenario. Almost like a true purple team. And then you have this really fascinating strategic decision for the coaches and the teams. Am I going to employ all of my red teamers to immediately attack others? Do I purple team my own environment and help harden it to score points and prevent others from scoring points? And then the third thing that we're doing to sow chaos, I think is the right description for it, is there will be an external entity generating automated attacks as though there is an advanced persistent threat that is attacking all of the castles. And that's yet another way that teams have the opportunity to score points, is essentially to identify this external entity and report it through something we call Defender, the logging system we have for that blue team as they report the mitigations and detections that they're performing live. So I think that'll be really fun. So now, unless anybody has any questions, I'm going to jump in to the SimSpace platform and give you a brief demonstration of what that's going to look like as these teams enter the event. So from cradle to grave, I'm just going to log in fresh. When you enter the platform, there's a brief welcome aboard. We're very excited about the global cyber games, as you can tell. And then you get to your home page. You'll notice the preview for the 24-hour competition that's coming up on March 23rd and 24th. For the Wicked Six Cyber Games and the Women's Cyber League. And the teams, as they enter the event, they will see this Global Cyber Games live action event as their active event. So they'll go ahead and enter that. So this is what it looks like. Right now you can see that this is exactly what a participant will see. Right now you can see that we are in the execution phase for this demonstration. And the really important thing about these different phases is it gives me very granular control about who can do what at what time. So we give each member of this event certain privileges by tagging their account with certain privileges, and then they're allowed to do certain things at certain times. So access maybe network design if they're an event manager or in the control cell or in the network design role. But if you're down here as a participant in the blue team defense, you'll only be able to have network access and defender action and documentation, much more limited access. So it gives us granular control of who can do what. The people who are, frankly, many of us who are on this webcast right now are going to be participating in that white, what we call the white cell role, where they'll be event managers and they have visibility into defender logs and threat actions, etc. So the next thing I'll show you is event documents. This is where the overview, you can actually see it here from the lobby. You pull up the documents telling you how to log into your blue team, your defensive tools. We have Splunk and Elastic deployed already in the range, along with forwarders and WinLog beats, packet beats, that sort of thing. We have a number of different resources for you. Rules of engagement will also be here. Next thing we can talk about are objectives. We can build objectives into this, and so we can say deny access to key cyber terrain, or detect beaconing, or detect and prevent lateral movement. These aren't the ones that we're actually going to be in the range because the event itself, because we want to save those as a surprise for people when they come to familiarization on Friday. But we don't want to give too much time for planning. But this is how we define what those objectives are, how we prioritize both the red team and the blue team targets. We can do things like, well, you can see the overall network design right here, where we can tag the virtual machines with different roles and different key cyber terrain, if that term is familiar to you. And we can then build an attack campaign. And so this is not what you're going to see in the game yet again, because I prefer saving those surprises for the last minute. But this would be an example of how we can deploy those automated attacks, even emulating known APTs like the Lazarus group, into it, and deploy those attacks in an automated fashion throughout the network. I'll show you a little bit more on that in just a moment. So I'm going to actually go ahead and add in a participant while I'm here, because I think I owe Neal access to this, and I want to make sure that I get off his naughty list as quickly as possible. So there we go. So now Neal is able to view all this. So when he told you he would be looking behind the scenes, getting the inside scoop for his presentation, now he really can. The next thing we'll see is the network map. And from here, I can reach out and touch any of these virtual machines. And because I'm an event manager, I can see and access all of them. But I can reach out and touch an individual virtual machine, click on it, wait just a moment, and it'll give me the opportunity to open a console to that machine. And what I'm going to do is stall for just a moment as this comes up, because the next thing you're going to see as this virtual machine populates is one of the things that makes this event really exciting for me as well, which is called user emulation. I've done a lot of CTF competitions in my time, and one of the challenges of running an effective competition is, how do you give someone a carefully curated experience without making it overly contrived? And a big answer to that question in the SimSpace platform is user emulation. Right now, there are a number of scripts running in the background that are doing things. You see emails coming in right now. If I were to filibuster a little bit longer, you would actually see posts on this social media platform. You'd see people browsing for jobs. The accounting department apparently is suffering some walkouts of their own. And what that means is that when you jump into your SIEM, when you jump into Elastic or Splunk, there's going to be a large volume of traffic there that's legitimate traffic. And then the defenders will need to filter through that to find actual attacker action, which is very exciting, I think. Coming back, I'll go ahead and close that console out. Coming back, the next thing that I'd like to point out is file management. This is also really exciting to me personally, because I wish I'd had it on multiple occasions in the past. So what we can do here is upload any file. So imagine I've got a zip file of Pete's super secret enumeration scripts, and I'm going to upload that, and this then becomes available within the range. And all I have to do is create a link. That is the download link that will allow me. So I then copy that into the console, and I can download that file that I've just uploaded to the range into my blue team box or to my red team box. Why does this matter? Well, we all have our own special sauce for how we do this. Sometimes we do have scripts that we want to deploy. Maybe we have our own custom Yara signatures or Zeek rules, or we want to deploy a Docker container that has some specific solution that for our red team infrastructure. Whatever that might be, no problem. As long as you keep it under our 10 gig maximum upload size, you can upload that to the platform, and then it's centrally managed. So if you want to deploy it across all 12 of your red team boxes, no problem. Use the same link to download it 12 times and deploy it on those boxes.
And just a reminder for anyone tuning in, if you have any additional questions that you want to ask about the platform or of our game masters here, feel free to add those to the comments down below.
Absolutely. Here's our our user emulation. And from here, I can manage the runs that are going off. So if I wanted to, I could actually take this action and kick it off, because user emulation is being kind of slow right now. So I'll spin it back up. So we'll have even more of those logs present. The next thing we should take a look at is we'll take a look at threat activity. So you remember me mentioning the threat actions. You see all these different scenarios that I have deployed right now. This one is the ones down below, not scheduled, are available for manual start. So I'll go ahead and start this beaconer deployment. And what it's going to do is, and if I take a look at event logs, you'll see it actually start populating that this is what's happening in the background. So it's deploying this agent right now into the network. If we want to see what that looks like, I can come down here and let's turn off the visualizations on the things that have already happened. And take a look at that beaconer deployment. So you see it is, if I went back to my logs, I would see it's actually reaching directly out to this ACC Win 7 dash, it looks like 6 machine right now. I'd find that in my logs as well. And you see that callback, you notice these are all numbered. So if I expand this, we'll see that this is actually 1.3. So if we expand this 1.3, that's sending an email to attack 1 is uploading a file. And that's how it's progressing through and reporting back to me the status of this. Now, if you want to see what this looks like when we've had the opportunity to do something a little more robust, we can turn on, well, let me zoom out on that. We can turn on a beaconer deployment and on the search and exfil. What this is going to do is pivot laterally through the network multiple times before it starts exfiltrating data. Again, these are just examples of the types of scenarios that you'll see in a live action event like the one we're conducting on the 19th. I'm really excited for the blue teams to have an opportunity to score just as many points as their red team counterparts. The next thing that's actually really fun to be able to do is we can create a visualization of the MITRE ATT&CK framework showing what techniques, which tactics, and which subsequent techniques have been deployed using our automated attack. And then the last thing we can do is user emulation threat traffic visualization, but that's really more for the people who are watching rather than the people participating to give a better understanding of what type of traffic is present in the range. So that's the brief overview of what our participants are going to see on Friday. We'll do a more detailed overview. One thing I want to jump back over to is talk a little bit about the scoring. We're using a CTFD engine. And Kelly, if you wouldn't mind bringing up that last slide for me, I'd appreciate it. We're using CTFD engine, and what's happening in CTFD is we have built into the range a component that analyzes user behavior. And when certain criteria are met, for instance, a flag being updated, the Liberator engine will analyze using the ESXi backend to poll each of those flag states on a periodic basis. And whatever flag is present, we issue an award. That's what you're seeing over on the right. The awards being issued to the teams based on the flags that are there. The really fun thing about this, and something that's gotten me excited, is there are basically 3 scoring methods in this, and I alluded to this earlier. The first one is the obvious one. When the red team knocks over a box, plants their flag. We're going to have certain instances where you're allowed to plant a flag as an underprivileged user, and maybe a second flag as a root user. There may even be opportunities to plant flags on a container, and then another higher scoring flag if they successfully break out of a container. Those sorts of things. Next, you have what we call the defensive flags, and I mentioned this again earlier. That is, I have successfully patched a vulnerability. I have instantiated a firewall rule that denies access from a vulnerable machine to another one that we have identified, or from a likely pivot point to another machine. Those are both methods to score points. And then the third one is what I call uptime and ROE scoring, and that is you have to keep the services up. So if you have a print server and it comes down, then that's not defended, that's not available. Same thing for a mail server, for web servers, for whatever you imagine, antivirus solutions. If those things come down, then you're not effectively defending them because you're defending them from your regular users as well. So that'll be a point at which the blue team would start losing points when they come down. So those are the sorts of things you're going to see in this competition. And quite frankly, as you can probably tell from my tone and general level of caffeination, I'm very excited about it.
Hey, Pete, here's a question for you. With the scoring, is that all going to happen in real time, or is that done in kind of the after action report phase?
So the scoring is going to be done in real time for all but one of the factors right now. The real time scoring will be for all of the blue team mitigations, all of the red team flags. And then the one thing that is done, we do it live. And I can actually, if you go back to my desktop, I can show you a little bit of this, where we can correlate You heard me mention the defender logs. This is where the blue team comes in and logs, hey, I detected lateral movement. And so this would be an actual participant would come in and enter into the defender logs. I saw this, or I did this, or I issued this mitigation. We can then correlate those actions. So in this case, here we have a threat action that succeeded, and we've correlated it with a defender action. And so that is how that white cell also does scoring as this event is going on, is by watching the defender logs, being aware of the threat actions taking place, and correlating the tickets. So that doesn't happen automatically yet, but it does happen in real time. So I think I've kind of answered your question.
You did, and I think some of this will also make for some interesting play-by-play as we have commentary going through it.
I'm really excited for that, because I think it'll speak, and Neal, maybe you want to speak about this as well, but the ability to look over the shoulder of the blue team and see in their defender logs, this is what I'm doing. I wrote this PF sense rule. I'm concerned about this traffic. We'll be able to see that analysis in real time.
Well, and I think that's what really gets my hype level super excited from this, right? Because when we think about, if anybody who's listening has frequented Twitch or YouTube in the past and watched people do try hack me rooms or hack the box rooms, you only get one perspective, or you only get one side of the story. And it's really hard to visualize that when you're trying to understand what's happening on the red team and the blue team side. What I'm super excited about with this platform and with what we're trying to do here with this event is to really be able to give folks that ability to watch the red team, watch the blue team right over their shoulders as they're attacking and defending, and be able to have our panel of experts be able to provide that real-time perspective as they're going through that action. So it's going to make for an unprecedented view from the audience in terms of what's happening in real time as these teams compete.
And this is the first time, guys, that we're really going to be able to meet the teams and see what they have to offer. I mean, we're talking, this all started from the European ENISA deciding they're going to have an international cyber game, which is fabulous. So hats off for them for coming up with the vision. And these teams that we're going to be seeing compete on March 19th, these 10 teams, like 9 of them we're going to see again in Greece in June. Well, they'll be doing like a full day of CTF and a full day of red versus blue. So I'm really excited to see how the teams do come March 19th.
Yeah,
it'll be really, really exciting. I'm curious though. So we've seen a little bit of the demo, right? And this has given them kind of a good understanding of what to expect. They have a practice coming up on the 11th, which is great. But Pete, Chris, and maybe Neal as well, these ranges that we're leveraging for the games, these are leveraged by operators today, right? These are security operators. Can you tell me a little bit about how operation teams leverage this kind of technology?
Sure. I would say there are probably 3 broad categories that those usages come into. And the first one is, like you see here, a wide scale exercise where a customer of ours comes in, they emulate their working environment, they put their real defensive stack into our environment, and then they test themselves against either a combination of automated threats, live red team, and then analyze the performance of the various defensive teams that their organization has to see how they perform. That's perhaps the most obvious. The second thing, it's very similar, is the opportunity to test out the function of their defensive toolkit against known threats. So those are that's another use case. So you could deploy known threats against different tool stacks and see how they perform. The next would be to train their individual teammates. We have, as you saw from the main homepage, I don't know why I'm talking about it. I can bring it up just as easily. Their ability to enroll in individual training events based on their needs and preferences. So we can go to our content catalog and browse by any one of a number of topics. They want to become more familiar with a specific SIEM, or if they want to become a more effective threat hunter using Zeek or any specific tool set, or even explore emerging threats. We have an entire team that deploy as threats emerge. We produce training content on those new capacities. So good examples would be in the last 5 months, we've done training on Log4j. We've done training on Print Nightmare and PK Exec. So all of those recent vulnerabilities, I want to know how it works. Okay, here's a description of how it works. Here's a breakout of how you could deploy it from the offensive perspective, which is, of course, fun. But it also gives you a better understanding of the challenges that a blue team has. And then the last thing is defense. What are the IOCs? How can we deploy them? What does it look like on the wire, in a seam, et cetera?
And, of course, looking at how everything works together in concert with one another, right? We don't sit there and just say, look at one piece or one toolkit or one individual team member. It's about validating your entire technology stack, validating all of your processes and team members, and understanding where are the gaps, where can we improve, and then how can we constantly iterate upon that. I mean, that's one of the biggest advantages for CISOs. I'm going to nudge Neal here in the arm, but having that constant CI/CD model of continuous improvements along your deployment, and then bringing what's in production into a range so that you can test, validate, push to production, continually test, and making sure it's not just a one and done, kind of like a countertop rotisserie oven. You don't just set it and forget it. You have to iterate and to be ahead of the advanced attackers that are out there.
Yeah, and I think I couldn't agree more, right? I've built numerous security teams throughout my entire career. One of the hardest things in the world is to get training, and whether that's cognitive-based training or demonstrative-based training, both are equally important in this space. But what is really, really hard is how do you get training on your stack, on your technology, emulating real-world threats, emulating what's really happening out there in the environment, especially as rapidly as the environment changes. And so, this type of emulation and this type of ability to create those types of environments, when I think about this from a CISO perspective, it very much becomes like, okay, I can have you come in and I can have my technology here, and I can have you train my folks on how to do real-world SOC operations, real-world incident response, real-world threat hunting, real-world penetration testing in my environment without them tipping over boxes in production, without them, deleting files accidentally as they're trying to do a piece of malware recovery. Insert scenario here, and it's a safe space for us to train folks to do tabletop exercises all the way up to the leadership chain. And so, yeah, it's incredibly valuable to folks like myself.
You said it's a safe space. One of the best comments that I heard from a customer is, I could go in there and blow it up, and I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. One of the things that, and we want to train our younger analysts up, especially our IR analysts, but you hop onto a box and you accidentally delete a file as you're trying to clean a box, or you are trying to red team a box and you want to test out the latest and greatest tool and you end up tipping over a box. Those are two scenarios that are extreme. I've tipped over a box when I, first started doing penetration testing. It happens to even the greatest of penetration testers, and to be able to practice real world penetration testing without tipping over boxes, or to be able to practice real world incident gathering and forensics evidence gathering without, running the risk of breaking the chain of custody. Huge.
One of our favorite interview questions is asking somebody about some time that something went wrong. I did a thing, it was ill-advised, but the really important follow-on question is, what did you learn from that?
Yeah.
And this gives them an environment in which they can learn from those mistakes without having to make the really costly mistakes that lead to those lessons learned. And I think that's really exciting.
What kind of skills do you think we're going to be testing out, just generically in terms of job roles? Is it just pen testing? Is there other skills, Pete, that we're going to be experimenting with?
That's a great question. I think in most Castle v. Castle scenarios, you do see a very heavy influence of red team, right? That the cyber operator work role is getting heavily tested. In this case, because we have, I think, a very robust process for evaluating the defensive performance as well, I'm excited to see kind of an increased emphasis on defensive capability as well.
I want to piggyback on that if I can really quick, Pete, because
yeah,
in all my years, one of the things that has frustrated me the most, whether it's as a practitioner or as an IR lead or a SOC lead or a CISO, is the lack of focus on defensive capabilities. And so I couldn't agree with you more that I want to double stomp this. I want to throw my hat up in the sky. We need more and more emphasis on the blue team capabilities that exist out there. And so that's what I'm super excited for with this platform as well.
It's funny. There's this perception that we all want to be pen testers, but we can't all be pen testers, because someone has to someone has to be able to implement the weaknesses and the mitigations that we identify as a pen tester. And I come from an offensive background as well, but that more holistic understanding, and I really hope that this game illustrates the importance of the blue role. One of the things I love to say when I get a rise out of our red team is describing them as blue team support. But the reality is the goal is safety and security, right? And so there is that kind of friendly rivalry. But at the end of the day, we're all working towards that common goal of defense.
That's right.
And so you hear a big emphasis from that on me, on that particular goal in this game from me. So to your question, Jess, we'll also see that cyber defense analyst role being hit, I think, absolutely to a T. There are going to be network defensive opportunities. There'll be host analysis opportunities. There'll be vulnerability management opportunities. So a large number of those, those nice work roles are being hit on, as well as the individual abilities and tasks, maybe outside of what you'd normally see in a Castle v. Castle game.
Fantastic. That lines up well with the NIST NICE cybersecurity workforce framework. So appreciate it. I'm curious, Pete, you keep referencing the blue team and the red team. We got 15 players per each team. Are they going to have to decide, or do they get to switch back and forth?
Well, the answer to the question is my favorite get out of jail free answer. It depends upon implementation. What we've done is we've given them a total of 18 machines, 6 of them allocated to blue team operations and 12 of them allocated to red team operations. And you may note that does not add up to 15, at least with my math. So we've got what we have is the opportunity to have some people freelance as the opportunities present themselves. In my mind, maybe those 3 people are functioning in a purple teaming role. They're analyzing their defenses and implementing mitigations live as they do it, and of course documenting it in their defender logs, because if you didn't document it, did it even happen? Can't prove it. So there might be an opportunity for somebody to pop smoke and call in reinforcements if they need more red teamers at a given moment or blue teamers at a given moment. So once again, we're just trying to open the door to some more creativity as it comes to gamesmanship. We don't really want to lock everyone into just one role or do just one thing. But they have they have a couple extra platforms for people to freelance or switch back and forth.
Sounds good.
It also gives people the opportunity to get into the mindset of the attacker and kind of having that purple team role, right? If you're able to understand what are the objectives, what are they trying to get at, I can then put in mitigation steps in place. I can then defend differently, because having that frame of reference and having that target-oriented fixation gives you a more rounded team ability. We can divide and conquer things readily, or say, hey, I need more help over here because I just might need somebody with a little bit more skills.
Absolutely. All right. So Jess, was there something else you wanted to say? I'm sorry.
I figured we might want to talk a little bit about the prizes, right? Not the prizes themselves, but at least the awards. What are we looking for? We have the highest scoring team. Seems pretty obvious. Best attack team, best castle defender. How is that different than the best ingest defender?
So the best inject defender, that's when you remember me talking about this extra team, right? The advanced persistent threat that's going to be present in the environment, and they'll be attacking all of the castles simultaneously. So essentially what we're saying is highest score total, highest score as attacking. So the most red team flags that you tipped over the most boxes and held them for the longest time. The next one being who scored the most blue team points in toto. And then the follow-on question on who was most effective at identifying that external attacker and purging them from their environment. So those are the 4 categories there.
And then we have the master reporter.
Yes. So you heard me mention defender logs. You saw me demo them, and you heard me say if you didn't report it, did it even happen? This is another opportunity to ever so subtly bang on that drum of reporting. At the, obviously we have to defend our networks. That's really important, but documentation is critical. It doesn't matter whether you're leaving comments in code or leaving defender logs or JIRA tickets or however your organization does it. It is critical that the information that lives in your head be shared with others. And it is, kind of similar to what Neal was saying earlier about the blue team focus. I have always, it matters to me a great deal that we used to jokingly call it the HBB plan, the hit by bus plan. What happens if Pete is hit by a bus, bicycling irresponsibly on his way to work tomorrow? And so that means that the knowledge cannot live in my head. When I was in the military, we used to say, never be the low man with a secret. Well, this is how you avoid making the mistake of knowing something and not sharing it. Defender logs, you push it up, everybody has visibility into it. And I think the really important thing is we have team captains. We have people who are functioning in kind of that planner, overseer, tasking role. And this gives them a centralized location for that information to flow back to them.
I think the final award we almost called the Pete Award, but we ended up going with Ingenuity Award. This is an optional one. It might be awarded, it might not be. Tell us a little bit about this.
Okay, so this is the craziest idea that even if it didn't work, we really liked. That's what we're looking for, somebody who did something off the wall or unexpected. So for instance, we have machines that we don't think you can compromise. They still have a flag location on them. And if you land that flag, you know what? You're getting an award for it. At the same time, if you wanted to come up with something crazy and it breaks the game, guess what? You're going to lose points for reliability, but I want to give you points for having a great idea because I don't want to stifle innovation just because we're doing a game, just because I had a plan. If your plan ruins my plan, you know what? That shouldn't ruin everyone's day. And I want to give recognition to those great ideas, even if it broke your ability to score points in the middle of the engagement.
No, I think that sounds great. I'm really looking forward to it. We'll announce prizes closer to the event, but I'm excited. They say some of these cyber games are kind of boring to watch, but I think we've got some cool plans.
I'm super excited for it. I think our goal is to make this very, very viewable. We've got a team of experts with your team, Jess, as well as with the folks that we've got lined up to cast this and to bring in commentary. You've got the full support of the cyber and security, community and moderation team that's going to make sure that we bring, very top level, organization to how we do this stream. This is going to be unlike any other, cyber stream that you've watched in the past. I'm super excited to bring to bear the amount of awesomeness that cyber and security is known for when it comes to casting this type of event.
I am similarly excited, and I really look forward to getting a chance to work with you, Neal, to share this, to look over the shoulders of the teams, and maybe do things just a little bit differently than they've been done in the past.
Absolutely, breaking the norms is what we're all about.
Absolutely.
Well, we're not only breaking these norms, we're breaking gender norms along the lines. Isn't that right, Jess?
We are.
So, I would love it. Tell us a little bit about Wicked 6 and what's going on that side as well.
Absolutely. Let me give a quick recap, and then we have a video that probably says it even better than I can.
Perfect.
We have this actually started. So Wicked 6 started in 2019. We did it in person as a collegiate event. It's a fundraiser for the Women's Society of Cyber Jiu-Jitsu. And that was at the last day of Black Hat, first day of DEF CON, right there at the HyperX Stadium in Vegas. And it was phenomenal. And we broke some norms then. With the pandemic, we obviously did not hold the in-person event, but it was interesting. I went over to Prague and I talked to some of the coaches and the directors from various different countries and discovered what I already knew, but got to hear firsthand that the challenge for more women in cyber is a global issue. It's not just a US issue. And so we decided, Mary Galloway, the CEO of the Women's Society of Cyber Jiu-Jitsu, and myself decided, hey, why don't we do something different this year with the Wicked 6 and do it during Women's History Month, right? Do a 24-hour format, and that 24-hour format is full of speakers, some in English, some in native languages, going all around the clock so that we can have daylight in each region around the world, and a a set of, I think we have like 5 different platforms now, game platforms that will be made available to those women in Discord to really test their skills, get some prizes, network, team up. Thank you, SimSpace. I know we're going to have your CTF program there. So looking forward to seeing that. And the whole idea is, if you've never thought about a cybersecurity career, join us. If you're already in it and you're a female hacker, not just join us, but reach out to us, because we have a couple of spots on our panel. By the way, we have 2 panels on female hackers that are going to be talking. So it's going to be a great event to just encourage more women in cybersecurity as we break the bias here in March of 2022. And we do have a video. Be great.
Let's definitely pull that up.
My name is Mary Galloway, CEO and a founding board member of the Women's Society of Cyberjitsu.
Hi, I'm Ari Hernandez. I'm a senior security engineer for Google. I am also a CTF player for the Plaid Parliament of Pawning.
नमस्ते, मेरा नाम रिधि है। मैं साइबर सिक्योरिटी एनालिस्ट कंसल्टेंट हूँ। मैं अपना ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा फ्री समय ऑनलाइन कम्युनिटीज़ के साथ काम करके स्पेंड करती हूँ।
Hi everyone, my name is Shamin Tan and I'm the Chief Growth Officer at Securo.
Hi, મારું નામ માનસી ઠાકર છે અને હું એક cyber games enthusiast છું.
I'm Jess Gulick, founder and CEO of Cat's Eye PlayCyber.
Naniniwala ako na nakakatulong sa matagumpay na career ng mga babae ang paglalaro ng cybersecurity games. Bakit? Dahil natututo kang mag-isip outside of the box, tsaka marami ka rin natututunan sa sarili mo at sa mga topics ng challenges kahit hindi mo makuha yung sagot.
Games provide a fun and collaborative way to learn new skills, hone competencies, and meet new people.
आप ना सिर्फ अलग-अलग टेक्निकल बातों को समझते हैं, पर उससे भी ज़्यादा आपको एक क्रिएटिव माहौल मिलता है.
Cyber games are a great opportunity and a great way for folks that are new or interested in learning about cybersecurity to get involved and have a little fun.
对于 cyber gamification 的这个方向，我觉得这会帮助更多人，包括女性，对网络安全这个课题感兴趣。
આ cyber games રમીને તમારું પર્સનલ તમે શીખી શકો છો ટીમ કોલેબોરેશન, સેલ્ફ એસ્ટીમ, સેલ્ફ કોન્ફિડન્સ અને પ્રોફેશનલ આપણે આ સાયબર સિક્યુરિટી યા ઇન્ફોર્મેશન સિક્યુરિટીના ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રીમાં કેવી રીતે આગળ વધવું. We've got a 24-hour format, some in English, some in native languages, of speakers and games to allow women across the globe during their daylight time to come together to celebrate Women's Month and help women discover a career in cybersecurity.
Super excited ako maglaro kasama ng mga kapwang babae na interesado sa cybersecurity tsaka galing sa bawat sulok ng mundo. Sana magkita-kita tayo doon and gusto ko kayong makilala.
दुनिया के अलग-अलग कोनों से महिलाएं आगे आकर कुछ टेक्निकल और क्रिएटिव करने की कोशिश कर रही हैं. विंजा कम्युनिटी की तरफ से हम CTF ऑर्गेनाइज कर रहे हैं विकेट 6 इवेंट के लिए.
જેમાં beginners all the way till advanced games હશે. તમે ચોક્કસ અટેન્ડ કરજો, તમને બહુ જ મજા આવશે.
真的很高兴能看到世界各地的女性在 Wicked 6一起讨论关于网络安全的这个课题，希望大家不会错过。
Let's hack the bias in cybersecurity.
On March 23rd, 24th માં
As 1,000 women
એટલે no matter કે તમારું background શું છે,
play cyber games and just get to know each other.
Well, that sounds like an absolutely amazing event that's going to be going on. Whoop, Jess, I think you're on mute there.
No, appreciate it. We're really excited about it. So,
yeah, I think Pete, you had mentioned one time how many of your teams had came in second to the Plaid Parliament?
Oh, I don't think we need to talk about how many times to them. Probably just 30 or 40.
Okay, not too many. Not too bad. There's still hope for you yet.
Yeah, right. One of these days.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us here. Is there anything else that we haven't covered yet? Just double checking the comments here, or any comments from our amusing panelists that we have. No, I think we're good right now on questions. Awesome. Well, Thank you guys for joining us. We can stay around for just a couple of minutes if anybody has any additional questions. Otherwise, we will say thank you. We look forward to seeing everyone joining us for the Global Cyber Games Challenge and the ICC when it comes up at the end of the month, as well as the Wicked Six events. At SimSpace, we are proud to confidently stand behind the global industry in preparing everyone to not only defend against advanced cyber attacks, but ready themselves for any type of threat that comes at them. So thank you all for being a part of this. We look forward to seeing you in the near future.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.